If you're an overlander or just someone who wants to explore off the beaten path for days, weeks, or even months at a time and be comfortable doing so, let's face it, there are no shortage of options. Arguably, the two most popular though are truck campers and trailers, both of which come with their own pros and cons. And in this video, we're gonna discuss the pros and cons of each as they relate to size, packaging, off-roadability, setup and teardown, comfort, and of course, cost. If you are considering a truck camper or a trailer for your travels, you're gonna wanna watch this video before you make a decision. What's up everybody? My name is Jeff. This is Matt from WheresWiseman.
Howdy.
And we wanna just have a chat. It's gonna be a little different for the channel, but we just wanna chat about something that I think a lot of people ask all the time, and that is, what direction should I go with my camp setup? Should I go with a trailer? Should I go with a truck camper, or what should I do? Because if you want to take the next step in camping after ground tent camping like we did, or rooftop tent camping like a lot of people do, I think either going with a trailer or a truck camper are probably the two most common setups.
Definitely.
So we just want to talk about pros and cons of each, because Matt and Emily have been rocking this teardrop trailer for the last, how many years?
Just over 4 years, I believe now.
So 4 years with the teardrop,
yeah.
so a lot of experience with the pros and cons. And then we admittedly just got into a truck camper, so we don't have quite as much experience. All right, well, it's official. We did a thing, but we've already kind of figured out like some of the things that work well and some of the things that maybe aren't as good as our previous setup that we had with a smaller vehicle. So with that, I have some notes because we're gonna do this in one take because, well, we need to make dinner soon and we can only do this in front of a camera for so long.
True.
So the first category that I want to talk about, I think this one might take up the most amount of time, but it's size and packaging, because I think that's one of the most important considerations for people when they're trying to decide what direction to go based on what their needs are, is size and packaging. And I think we'll try and keep it kind of general so that it's not like brand versus brand, but just general trailers versus campers, because there's like a million different brands. But in your view, when it comes to the kind of the size and packaging of a trailer, what would you say are the biggest pros and cons?
As far as the trailer itself, we wanted something hard-sided. We were actually upgrading from tents. Tired of getting blown around, tired of moisture issues, all the stuff that comes with soft sides. So yeah, we went hard-sided. We'll never go back. It's maybe the only thing that's deterred us from getting a rooftop tent set up. I guess the other thing to factor in as well is how long is your trailer? We'll get into maneuverability a little bit later, but that's huge with our short wheelbase on the Jeep and the short length of this trailer. We can still get to most locations that this truck setup can do. Yeah,
totally. So you'd say one of the biggest pros from the packaging standpoint is being hard-sided.
Yep.
Which is great, not having to worry about canvas, and that's definitely a con of the truck camper, right? So we have the canvas pop-top tent, and we've had it in some pretty gnarly thunderstorms, and we get home and it's like, you just have to hope and cross your fingers that you have a sunny day so that you can open everything up and air it out so you're not dealing with mold issues. So that's a huge pro for the trailer for sure. Yeah, the size part of it is interesting too, because I think it kind of goes both ways. So for you with this trailer, this thing is super small. It's definitely like it's meant to be off-road.
Yeah.
And you can tow it with, like you said, your two-door Jeep. What's the tow rating on your Jeep?
2,000 pounds.
Yeah, so 2,000 pound tow rating, and you could still tow a trailer, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. You know, from a size standpoint and a packaging standpoint on the truck camper side, I think the biggest pro in my mind is that it's all one piece, but that's also kind of a con. I'll get into that in a minute. But the pro is you're not towing around a trailer, and so when it comes to, I guess we'll talk more about maneuverability when we talk about the next section, which is off-roadability. But the fact that it's all one package, it's one thing, it's great. If you already happen to have a pickup truck, then a truck camper is great. But if you don't, you need to buy a pickup truck just so you can get into it. It does have the soft-sided, canvas, so you got to be aware of that. Oh, another thing, like size and packaging wise, that we definitely got to talk about is that, so we have a pickup truck, right? Pickup trucks are super utilitarian. They can do stuff. You can help your friend move. Well, you can get roped into helping your friend move, which nobody really wants to do, let's be honest. But with the way that we have our truck camper set up and the way I've seen a lot of people set up their truck campers, our truck is useless at being a truck. Like, it is terrible at being a truck because it basically it's got a full cabinet build out on the inside. And yeah, you could still throw some stuff in the bed or whatever. So it's not totally useless, but it's not a truck you're going to take to Home Depot and, get a bunch of wood or a bunch of, manure or whatever you need. It's just not going to happen anymore. So you really got to think about that. If you do have a truck that you need for day-to-day truck stuff, and you're going to get a truck camper, you're going to get some compromises. Or if you go like all out like we did, you're kind of just have like a dedicated camping rig that isn't really very usable as a daily driver, or kind of sucks at being a daily driver. But that is actually a pro for the trailer in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. So you think you're getting a trailer, all you need to do is add a hitch to the back. That's your upgrade. And these days, there's so many options for teardrops that are light that just about any car can pull them anymore. We're talking as light as 500 pounds now for some trailers, which you can pull with just about any car on the road.
Yeah.
And we still have our Jeep as a daily driver. And the beauty is kind of like we're gonna call it the overlanding rig. It's not really a truck anymore.
Yeah, sure. No, that's fair, yeah.
It's packaged and ready to go. So when we wanna go out for a weekend, we just pick up the trailer, we're set. Nothing else needed.
Yep. And that's fair. But that is like what you just said, it's packed up and it's ready to go. So if you're willing to buy a truck so that you can not use it as a truck and you will never have to help your friend move, also big pro, then it is pretty cool, because like before it was super annoying every time we wanted to go camp for a night because we had to load up the truck with everything and then unload it when we got home. Now pretty much everything lives in a truck, in the cabinets and all that. So
yeah.
Size and packaging. I think that pretty much covers it, doesn't it? Okay, so next category, off-road ability, because at least for, I think, most of the people who are going to be watching this, we're talking about smaller trailers, smaller truck campers, things that you can actually take off-road. You can get out dispersed camping. We're in the Northwest, right? So there's a limitation on the width of these forest roads and the height and down trees and things like that. So let's talk about that. So what has your experience been with pulling a trailer? Because I think that's something that a lot of people are curious about. And like, even for us personally, that kind of shied us away from going the trailer route.
Yeah.
But you guys have been to some gnarly places in that thing, so.
Yeah, I mean, for the trailer, maneuverability, access to four-wheel roads. Biggest con is there's a lot of roads that you'll go down just to check them out that we won't even bother with, because we don't want to hike 2 miles, 3 miles, however far it is. And we don't want to stress over, can we turn around or are we going to be backing out?
Right.
Which we recently had a fun one of those.
Yeah, I watched that video.
Oh, shit. That was a rough one. Oh, that's not good. Oh, man. But it really depends on your trailer too. These days, there's so many options like this off-road package where you really can get to some deep remote trails. The beauty is when you get somewhere deep with these smaller trailers, the one pro is you can just drop it, go explore some more. You don't have to take down camp. So that's been a huge pro for us, just having a home base that we can set up, leave, come back, and of course we do lock up our trailer before we leave, but never had any issues there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I guess you could put that one in off-road ability or size and packaging, but it is a really huge pro of a trailer, is just being able to drop it at camp, claim your campsite. Like this campsite that we're at right now, we got here and they're like, every campsite is taken.
Yeah.
And so to have the ability to do that, maybe drop your trailer and then go explore, is something that we certainly cannot do in a truck camper. You gotta close your tent, you gotta shut everything down, you gotta pack everything up, and you gotta move on. I guess, so we're talking about off-road ability. just some pros and some cons that we've experienced with the truck camper on. Obviously, you're adding weight. Now, the truck camper that we have is a relatively lightweight. It's aluminum. I think it weighs about 450 pounds just on its own, but it goes up from there. And the way that we have ours outfitted, it's probably more like 600 pounds. And that's a lot of weight for the back of a Tacoma. And so there's, suspension modifications that need to be done to accommodate it. And you start worrying about reaching your payload capacity. So, there's all kinds of things there that are kind of cons, but then on the other side, I think the biggest pro is, it's all in one package. And so you're just to take a mid-sized truck up these trails is super easy. This thing's actually narrower than our Land Cruiser was. So it's really easy to get down these Pacific Northwest trails. The one con to a truck camper is you are going to add to your height, but not necessarily more so than you would do if you had a rooftop tent. So it probably doesn't really matter all that much. You're still able to do it in a vehicle that's relatively small, that's relatively off-road capable. So yeah, I think generally speaking, it's a pro for truck bed campers. The next category is going to be ease of setup and teardown. And I think just being out camping with you guys this weekend, there's definitely some things that the trailer does better, and there's definitely some things that the truck camper does better. So I guess I'll start it off on the truck camper side. It's just as easy as popping 2 latches. You raise up your camper, you got your bedding in there. That's one benefit. Not every truck camper can do that though.
Yeah.
But for our truck camper, we've got a 3-inch mattress. We've got all of our bedding and our pillows already in there ready to go. That's a big deal. And that's something that obviously for you, your bed's always made.
Yeah.
So you literally can just open a door, pop in and go to sleep.
Yeah.
So if you just need to get to sleep, probably, I would say for sure the teardrop or the trailer wins for that, for just straight up setting up and going to sleep.
Like you said, both have strengths in their own way. Both our beds are set up, but we also use our trailer as storage too. So you kind of have to
you got a bunch of
shuffle
stuff
around.
in there. Okay.
Yeah. But I think one of the big differences initially is the kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think we've showed before on our channel, our kitchen setup, we open the back hatch.
Yeah. It's right there. Yeah, it probably isn't a shot even.
That's the kitchen.
The kitchen is there. It's super cool. Like of everything that I've seen with their trailer, when we get to camp and they just open that latch and their kitchen is set up, it's awesome. Because like we still got to set up our stove or our scuttle. We got to set up a table. None of these things like take a lot of time, but they all take a little bit of time. And so what I notice is that, some of it too comes down to with how you have it set up. Because for you have an awning that takes like 6.5 hours to set up, but you could theoretically put an awning like ours on, which would take 20 seconds to put up. But you have chosen pain and suffering.
And poles and stakes.
But that doesn't really have anything to do, I guess, with the trailer itself. That's more like the accessories and what you choose. I think the reality is both of them set up and tear down really quickly. And we opened this video talking about, well, people, if they want to go to the next level from tent camping or rooftop tent camping, I think what people are really wanting to pay for and get is the ease of setup and tear down.
Yeah.
And just making that easier.
Convenience.
So convenience, yeah. And especially if you're going to different places each day, I don't really think you can go wrong either way. I don't know that there's big cons for either of these when it comes to setup and teardown. I think they're both really quick and really efficient. And it's just a matter of, again, what suits you the best. So I'm going to say that, not that we're scoring these, but for ease of setup and teardown, it's a tie. Yeah. Otherwise, so far I'm winning. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to claim that I'm definitely winning, even though this is definitely not a competition. Let's talk about comfort.
Yes.
So, because that's another thing, right? Is one thing is ease of setup and teardown, but comfort. Now, when I look at your trailer and a lot of trailers that I see people pulling, it seems to me like there's no way a human being can sleep in one of those.
We do get that question a lot.
So tell me about that. Like, how much room is there in there to sleep?
Oh, more than you'd think. So even with the galley in the back, the little bit of storage we have up front, we still have a full-size mattress in there, and it's a real 4-inch mattress. All these trailers have different options for those. But we sleep just as good out here as we do at home. And adding to that comfort is the hard sides, the thick insulation. We can camp 4 seasons with this, and if we seal it up, you aren't getting much noise outside the trailer as well. So comfort-wise, we win. We don't even need to talk about it.
I don't even get to talk in this category. You just gotta, again, this is not a competition in any way, but it kind of is.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a good point. The hard-sided thing, I mean, that's a pro in a couple of different ways, but yeah, for sure, like sound and insulation, and I guess probably just insulation in general, because they've also got a heater. You guys have a heater in there, so that really is a 4-season camper. Now we've got a heater in ours too, and I would make the argument that it is also a 4-season camper, but because it has that canvas top, it's not going to insulate as well, and so it's not going to hold heat as well, and it's a bigger interior space as well. But with that, I think is maybe the biggest pro of the truck camper over the trailer, and that is the ability to stand up inside.
Yeah, that's huge.
So, you know, with our camper, we can just push our whole bed platform up, and we've got a massive area to stand up in. So for, you know, changing, or even if you're just in there for foul weather or anything like that, or you kind of need to shelter, I feel like with a truck camper, and not all of them are as good at that, but generally speaking, you can stand up in there. And, you know, for some people that doesn't matter, but for us, that was a big reason why Christine and I skipped a rooftop tent altogether, because we wanted to be able to stand up and put our pants on versus sitting down. So actually I win, turns out, after all that.
Can you poop in there?
You could, sure. You could take a little pooper in there and have at it if you wanted to.
We can't do that. You
Can't
win.
do that. But actually, I don't think we do win, because the other thing, we're talking about comfort, right? And so let's be honest, we are men of a certain age, which means we're probably getting up in the middle of the night once or maybe more to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
And in our truck camper, I can sort of do that without disrupting Christine, but it is a little bit of a faff, to be honest. And then we're up, you know, on a higher level, so you got to kind of climb down. I think it's better than dealing with a ladder like you'd have to do in a rooftop tent. But it's still a little bit of a thing. But for you with the trailer, you don't really have to worry about that at all.
No, we love having 2 doors for one. There's some teardrops that just have one. Never understood it. If you're single, that makes sense, but climbing over somebody to take a growler in the middle of the night, no, thank you.
I think we'll call that one a solid tie.
How do we get a win here, people?
We'll call that one a tie. Hey, this is my channel, my rules, which I'm making up on the fly. So, all right, I think that pretty much covers comfort.
Yeah.
Last thing to talk about before we wrap this up is cost, because I think people are going to wonder, what's more cost effective, and this one's tough, right? Because it's going to be so dependent on what trailer you want. I mean, you could spend $100 grand on a trailer if you wanted to, or more on an off-road trailer, which I think are kind of ridiculous, because at that point they're so big, you're not lugging that thing down trails. But then conversely, on the truck camper side, you could go with like a 4-wheel camper, or something even bigger if you wanted to. There's so many things that have like full interior build outs and kitchens and all that. But let's just talk about the cost of our setups.
Sure.
Just so people have an idea. So for our truck camper, we have an alu-cab canopy camper. I think they started around $14,000, but that's just a shell. And so if you want to build it out with cabinetry, and we've got, heat in there, we've got a number of the storage options and things like that. Our particular build, if you were to try and replicate it, is probably pushing about $30,000. So yeah, so it's not cheap. And I'm super thankful that somebody else did the build on ours, and we swooped in and bought it. Swooped in, is that a word? We swept in, we swooped in, we swapped in. We swapped on in there, and we got kind of a deal on it. But yeah, not cheap. Alu-cab stuff is probably on the higher end, but you can get into like some of the other brands for probably more like $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for a truck camper. And at least get you started. And of course, if you're handier than I and you have more time, you could do a whole build out yourself and save some money. But anyway, 30 grand, that's the number. So what does something like this cost if somebody wants to get into a Timberleaf?
This is the Timberleaf Pica off-road. They're middle size model, so still has most of the options you can get, capability, but smaller, and just doesn't have a sink or a water tank, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
You're probably starting out about the same, right now maybe 15 to 16, and then adding options from there. You're, with a comfortable setup, right around 20, I'd say.
Okay.
You can go a little higher, you could stay a little lower. Teardrop trailers, it's whatever you want.
Right.
Timberleaf has one starting, I believe, even smaller one starting around like $8,000-9,000 without a galley. And they go up to $100,000. Just, I can't believe trailers are that expensive these days, but just depends on what you want.
Yep. So anyway, cost, yeah, I mean, you basically can spend as much as you want on a trailer or a camper, just like any hobby. But yeah, that's our experience with these two. So yeah, I hope that this video was helpful. I'm sure that we missed a ton of pros and cons, and people are going to be like taking to the comments like, you forgot about this. And yeah, we probably did. So please type those comments in if we forgot anything, because you'll just help other people who are watching this video. And if you have any questions for either of us, type them in the comments, and I will make sure that Matt spends at least 40 hours a week checking the comments on this video, as he's contractually obligated.
What else do I have to do?
In all seriousness though, thank you for sitting down with me and talking about this. If you want to check out Matt and Emily's channel, it's called Where's Wiseman. They take this teardrop trailer to some incredible places. They do a ton of travel. Highly recommend you check out their channel. It's amazing, and I'm not just saying that, it is a really amazing channel. So
thanks, buddy.
yeah, well, thanks again.
Yeah,
and
it was great, Jim.
that was a fun time.
Yeah.
And anyway, I guess that's going to do it for this video. So again, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.